Yo, I'm Troy, this is TM Fitness, energy availability for sports. Before I start, I do have a blog on my website, tmfitness.co.uk, to go over to the blog section of the website and look for the blog titled Energy Availability for Athletes, and it will delve into this in a lot more detail and give you all the evidence and the citations and everything else. I did a video very similar to this on my in my private Facebook group called the TM Fitness Recreational Athlete. If you're not a member of the group, you can search for it on Facebook. Just type in TM Fitness Recreational Athlete. You'll find the group. You can join it. I do videos of this nature on a fairly regular basis in there using the live application. Anyway, so this is an important concept for people who train a lot, have a high training volume. Energy, obviously, is incredibly important for physical performance. If you're in a low energy state, if you're not eating enough food, you're not going to have enough energy to fuel your exercise and your recovery. So let's start off with the basics. Total daily energy expenditure is all the energy that you expel over the 24-hour period. 24-hour energy balance is your TDEE and the food that you eat. So to understand what your metabolism is over the 24-hour period, you have BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, which takes up about 70% of your total energy expenditure. And then you have NEAT, which is all the movement and activity that you do that isn't exercise. So if you're laying flat and then you sit up, you've increased your NEAT. If you get up and start walking around, you've increased your NEAT. TEF is the thermic effect of food. Don't worry too much about that one. I mean, if you're eating a really crappy diet for the processed foods, it's going to be a little bit lower. So eat more healthy whole foods. If you're eating a lot of protein and fiber, it'll be a little bit higher. So obviously eat a little bit more of that stuff. If you're dieting and you're physically eating less food to maintain an energy deficit, your TEF will be lower. And if you're eating to maintenance or above, your TEF will be higher. So don't worry about trying to affect that one. Just be aware of how it works. And then you've got EAT, which is your exercise adaptive thermogenesis, which is about, for most people, about 5% of your total daily energy expenditure. But of course, not everyone exercises every day. So that's going to vary from day to day. If you're a high performing athlete with a high training volume and possibly even doing multiples of training sessions per day, then your EAT will be a lot higher. Your exercise adaptive thermogenesis will be a lot higher than 5%, but you'll be doing a lot of recovery and convalescing between workouts, so your NEAT will be a lot lower. So when your exercise activity goes up, your non-exercise activity goes down, and so they balance each other out. Okay, so there's a condition known as REDS, REDS, which stands for Relative Energy Deficiency Syndrome. These are a group of symptoms that occur when an athlete is in a state of low energy availability. It used to be referred to as the female athlete triad because there are 3 specific symptoms that are fairly exclusive to females, one of which is amenorrhea, or loss of menstrual function. Upon further research, it was discovered that there are a lot more symptoms related to the condition that also affect men. So they changed the terminology, they changed the categorization of that. And in fact, one of the groups that is highest, one of the highest risk groups is male jockeys who have very similar relationships with food and body composition as ballerinas and catwalk models. Bulimia, for example, is a very highly prevalent amongst jockeys. So it isn't just women that are affected by it. So relative energy deficiency can occur in a state of low energy availability if you're consuming fewer than 30 calories per kilogram of lean mass. Okay, that sounds quite high, but it's quite important. And if you read the article, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I will put a link up here somewhere. If you read the article, it explains that in more detail and how to calculate that as well. I'm not going to go into it here, it's too complicated. Okay, so energy availability on a practical standpoint. When you do a calorie equation, you work out your BMR, which is this one over here, and then you multiply that by a physical activity ratio. Now, what you can do is split your week up into specific days. You can separate non-exercise activity from exercise activity and get really geeky with that. Probably something worth getting your coach to do if you have a coach, and if you don't, hire a damn coach. And you can get really super geeky with this. You can split the entire 24-hour period down into like 15-minute increments using metabolic equivalents to work out how much energy, or estimate how much energy you're burning over every 15-minute block of your day. But to be honest, that is a little bit obsessive, it's a little bit overboard, and you're probably only really going to even want to do that if you have like Asperger's or some kind of personality disorder. That means that you have like some kind of, I don't know, sexual fetish for maths. So a slightly simpler way of doing it is just to split your days, your week, into separate days. So you could have, for example, a recovery day where you multiply your BMR by 1.2 to 1.3. These are just examples. These are just arbitrary numbers. But you get the picture. So it might be that you're fairly sedentary on a recovery day. So BMR times 1.2. And that's how many calories you need to eat that day. Then you have like a moderate or medium volume training day. So you might multiply your BMR by 1.4 to 1.6, depending on the amount and the type of exercise that day. And then you might have a heavy exercise day, or a day where you do 2 training sessions. So then you go with an even higher PAR. So BMR times 1.7 or higher, might be as much as 2.2, who knows. So you need to understand how the physical activity ratios work. You can use metabolic equivalents if you want to get a little bit more geeky, and again, as I said, the article does explain how you can do that. This is a more straightforward method of doing it, and something you can probably do at home and work out yourself. You could try it right now. Split your week up into rest days, medium training days, heavy training days. Use a physical activity ratio multiplier, and then you can see better what you should be eating on those higher training days. And that is pretty much it. Energy availability for sports. This stuff is gold. If you've got any questions, put them in the box. Please do like, share, and I will catch you later.